Hello again, welcome back everyone. LiquorHound here with you. Thank you for joining me for another spirit review video. And wow, do I have three very famous and tremendous single malt Scotch whiskies to review for you today. Now the whole reason this video even came to fruition was because I was having a dram with some really great friends the other night, one of which had brought his Brora 30, and we all loved it, and he asked me how I felt it compared to the Lagavulin 21s. Told him I didn't know. I mean, I love the Lagavulin 21, the 2007 edition, but I've never done that comparison. And so he's like, well, why don't you take this Brora 30 home, taste it, compare it, shoot a video on it if you'd like. Of course, I would love to do that, and we'll see what you really, truly feel. You know, be honest with us. Tell us what you really think is the best buy or the best single malt Scotch whiskey of the three. Now, that's going to be a real challenge for me today because this 2012 edition of the Lagavulin 21 I had never opened. I opened it just for this video, so it's going to be my first time really nosing it or tasting it. It's right here for you today. Alright, to the numbers. Alright, let's go ahead and go. 2012 Lagavulin 21, 52 ABV or 104 proof. Only 2,172 bottles were released. It's aged or in first fill sherry cask, so you're going to get that really rich sherry influence to the traditional Islay Lagavulin style. Next up, the 2007 release of the same Lagavulin 21. This one was bottled at 56.5 ABV or 113 proof. There was much more of this release at that time, 6,642 bottles of it. Again, sherried whiskeys, alright. Now, Brora 30. This was actually released 2007, 6th edition Brora from, I guess, Diageo. 55.7 ABV, 111.4 proof. Coastal Highlands, so you're going to get more of that briny influence compared to, well, now you're going to get that briny influence on the Islas, but this is more of that Highland style where you're going to get more traditional flavors coming through versus the tar and the peat and all that. 2,958 bottles coming through on this one, aged in both refill American oak and European oak casks. Alright, let's get to that actual nosing. A lot of people will tell you that Broras are very farmy, and that can have a very negative connotation to it because some people think manure, some people think animals. I don't find that on this one. It's actually a little more elegant, let's say it like that, than those descriptors. To me, what I always get on this one, a really nice honey grain coming through. And what they consider farm, I consider straw. And being on those coastal highlands, getting that salt air coming in, almost like a damp saltiness to that straw as well. A really big basket of ripe red fruits laying on that straw is what I knows. Talking, you know, berry fruits, red plums, very, very ripe. A hint of peat in the background. But more so, it's all about the soil as well. So, almost like when you get that first flash rain and it rains really quick and all of a sudden it dries up and you can smell the soil. It's kind of what the Brora 30 does for me. Caramel in there to go along with all those really earthy tones and those rich, rich fruits. Very, very nice. Alright, Lagavulin 21. 2007 release. Wow. Very, very deep. You do get the traditional Lagavulin aromatics of a little tar, campfire, smoke. Now this was a descriptor that might throw some people off, but almost like a smoked herring or a smoked fish aspect to it as well, laying right up on top of that campfire. It's definitely got that brine coming through. But tar, a little soot influence as well. Now as far as the fruits that are concerned on this one, more stone fruits, more plums, maybe a hint of apricot, but they do feel so rich and deep. You do get the sweetness coming through, almost that sherry, that fortified wine, bringing that sweetness to the aromatics. A touch of mint. Wow, lovely. on the Lagavulin 21 2007. Alright, let's see what this 2012 is like. Whoa. I can see the similarity is there slightly, but the fruits are much different. That's the big difference here. Also, the level of that smoke, the level of that tar, that sooty aspect is not as bold here as it was here. This created a very deep, rich feel when combined with that sherry. To whereas over here, you do get the campfire, you do get a little bit of that smoked brininess coming through. But the plums, almost a grappa feel, some grapes in here as well. I feel like almost they're taking the lead role. And the peat and the smoke is actually in the background a little bit. To whereas here it was all enveloping, here you actually have those peeking out the top. Touch of mint in there, but again, it's all more about the fruits with the smoke right underneath. Alright, let's go ahead and get to the flavor of the Brora 30. Wow. Thing I love about it, it enters so soft. Very low amount of sweetness, but it's not really needed because you do have that honey grain that was coming through on the nose, driving throughout. Then you get this huge explosion in your mouth of all these flavors of spice, the red fruits coming through that basket of berries. That salty brine is in here as well. You do get that straw, that earthy tones that you were getting on those aromatics come through on the flavor. Not so much the soil, but definitely the straw and the damp coastal salty brininess to that straw. Some mint. And then the fruits reappear again. It's almost like the fruits they come in, explode out right in the middle. They explode. You get a really rich spice kick, and then you start coming down from those spices, and you just start fluctuating between that honeyed grain and those fruits. Touch of saltiness, and then that peat smoke is definitely there as well. You actually don't even notice it in the beginning. It actually right after the explosion, it starts coming in. There's also a to go with that peatiness. I mean, it's almost has that campfire feel, but I also almost feel like it's a tobacco smoke. Very, very nice on that Brora 30. Now I am going to add a couple of drops. I want to see what that's going to do to it, and we'll revisit here in a second. 4 drops actually. Flavors linger tremendously, and I hate to cut it short. But we can't have an hour-long video, is what it would take for all these to really finish properly. Alright, 2007 Lagavulin 21. The first thing I notice is the mouthfeel, which reminds me of the mouthfeel on this one. It was very soft, and it did not feel thin. It felt fairly oily, but not as oily as this one does. This one has a lot of body to it. This one exploded with fruits and straw and cinnamon spice, and wow, this one explodes, but it's exploding with that campfire and that smoked fish thing coming on, and those rich fruits, plums, A lot of soot in here as well in that flavor. But it actually works very, very well because it's complementing that sweetness that sherry is giving it when you get those plums and those, I guess, some berries in here. Definitely feels sweet up front. Then the smoke explodes. Tar, the soot. Fruits are still playing, intermingling. The one thing you'll notice here, the grain isn't as dominant. It's there. That barley note is in there, but it's actually being covered up a little bit by all that smoke and those fruits. Whereas here it was playing a very, very major role. Wow, fantastic whiskey though, I must say. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to call this. Alright, we're going to do the same. A little distilled water. Alright, Lagavulin 21, 2012 edition. It's different, but it's nice. Not as oily on the palate. Good little explosion in here as well. It's more about the sweetness here. Whoa, and the spice coming on. You do get that feel of that smoke, that campfire smoke. You do get that feel of that smoked herring, but it's actually coming on the strongest towards the finish. Right after that spice swell, then you get all that big smoke peat. Whereas this one was right up front with it. This one up front, you actually get more of the fruits. It definitely has like a little grappa feel to it, those grapes. To go along with that plum. I actually think the grain peeks through a little more in this one than it did in the 2007. More like a honeyed barley as well. It's just that it's so hard to really see it and feel it when you've got so much smoke and brine coming through. And that fish, that salty smoked fish. Not as oily as the 2007 though. Wow. As far as, this is amazing. As far as which one I like the best, that's going to be tough because they're great in their own right. This is tremendous. I mean, the flavors all over the map. I mean, really blowing and exploding. I think this one's so oily. Wow. I don't know what to tell you. I know he asked me, but it's so hard to actually pick a winner here. Brora 30 one more time with a little water added. The fruit's much more dominant here with the water. Not as oily, but that perfect amount of viscosity. Honeyed grain, mint, straw, brine, some earthiness to it. Fruit still, wow, cinnamon spice. Tobacco, there is tobacco on that finish with that smoke. Alright, Lagavulin 21, 2007. Wow. Still feels the oiliest of the bunch. It actually seemed to tame that campfire smoke that I was getting right up front when you got a really big pow. It actually tamed that a little bit. You still get the soot, you still get the tar feel, the brine, the sweet fruits. I almost think it dampened the fruits a little bit. They're still there, but I think I liked it without the water. Alright, 2012 Lagavulin 21. Fantastic examples of sherried whiskeys where they're not just sherry bombs, they're actually really involving when it comes to the flavors. This one, much more about the fruits again, but it doesn't have that oiliness or that really rich, deep, aged feel that this one did. But I can admire it because the fruits actually work well, because you can actually sense that barley note coming through a little bit better, so it's a better rounded scotch. But if you love Islays, wow, can't hardly beat that one. But for my money, if they were all the same price, I think I like sipping on the best. It's just more complex and the flavors are much more different. You can keep going back to it and really enjoying that roller coaster ride of all those flavors coming, fluctuating in and out. Whereas that Lagavulin 21, it's super mouth coating, very rich and deep feeling, but it is, you know, tiered like that. These are the flavors, and every time you go back to it, you're gonna just same old thing. It's gonna feel very similar, and it, you know, that smokiness definitely overpowers anything else. So I was really having trouble going back to that Brora 30, but I love it. Wow. Yeah, you can't go wrong with any of them. The spice is definitely more. Ugh. I can't. I don't know how to pick the two. They're just two apples and oranges, but they're both the best apples and oranges you've ever had. So everybody have a great evening and cheers.